What advice would you give to women aspiring to break through the ranks in either sports or business and get into what is traditionally male-dominated positions?
Again, in threes. So the number one thing, when I graduated from college, or when I went to college, I was the shyest person probably that arrived at Lehigh University in 1982. Like, I was super shy. Sports gave me that confidence. So confidence, I would say, confidence, courage, and curiosity. So it happens to be 3 C's in this case. But thankfully, I was always curious about how was technology evolving? And this was well before AI, cognitive, well before all of the technology you all deal with every day. And it was like, I was just curious. I was curious around the 4th Industrial Revolution and what did that mean? And I read a ton on it. And what does it mean so I could serve my clients better? And was curious. I became a derivative financial instrument expert, believe it or not, valuation of complex financial instruments when I was at Deloitte. Like, because I was really curious about that. I did an assignment in our national office on accounting research around financial instruments and hedging and securitizations. And so I was just always curious. So I'd say confidence, you all know we have to be more confident. Quick story about Deloitte. So I become the first female CEO in their history. And the first executive leadership position I have open on my team is everybody knows that there's an opening, and because the other guy retired. And 9 men knock on my door and 0 women for the job. 9. And I'm like, gosh, I thought I was going to inspire women to raise their hand and be confident. And so I reached out to 3 women who I thought would be very qualified for the job. I said, why didn't you raise your hand for this? Oh, because I thought I didn't have this capability, or I didn't have that, or I'm happy with where I am, and I'm, and I don't think I want the job. And I said, like, I need you to raise your hand and be confident that, I think there's some research that men, if they have 55% of the criteria for a job, will apply for it, and women, that has to be 100%. And that puts us at a huge disadvantage. So that story about those 9 men and no women knocking on my door made me very cognizant of the confidence gap, and maybe just the capability gap, because I was fortunate. I raised my hand for different personal reasons. When I had my first kid, I wanted one thing. When I had my second kid, I wanted another. And the firm asked me to move to St. Louis on a client. And just another piece of advice, when the firm asked me to move to St. Louis on a client, there was a client that was literally 1.5 miles from my house, and I had just had my second child, and I could picture myself at the client, run home at lunch, feed the baby, come back. But the firm was like, we want you to go to St. Louis. So I said to the firm, well, what about this client? And they said, oh, we never thought of you for that client. And I go, well, that's all I'm thinking of for me is that client. So the lesson is, no one is thinking about your career as much as you are, so tell people what you want. And I almost made a big mistake, and it would have been a great client, but I almost made a big mistake because I was going to go. And then I finally just had the confidence to say, this is the client I want. And I actually it was a pharmaceutical company. I actually had pharma background at the time. And so I'm like, why wouldn't you have thought of me for that? Because no one's thinking about you as much as you are. I finally figured that out. It took me, many years to do that. But yeah, there's so many other things that happened during my career. Again, I was fortunate to be in an apprenticeship model like the Big 4 accounting and consulting firms, where I had probably had 5 different careers in 33 years, so I could stay with the same company. But then when you're the CEO, you have a term. My term ended, and I wrote 3 things on a piece of paper, because I had no idea what I wanted to do next. I wrote I wanted something different with a broad women's leadership platform, something I had a passion for. That's it, those 3. And I was with a Deloitte consultant recently who was retiring, and she's like, Cathy, I want a second act like you, and what should I do? I said, write 3 things down on a piece of paper. A month later, she comes back to me with her 3 things. Guess what? It was 1, A, B, C, D, 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, and 3. So there were 15 things. I say,
That's not 3.
You're a consultant, I'm an auditor, go back, 3 things. 3 things. And anyway, so I thought it would take me to a college or university president, or maybe run a not-for-profit. I had an association with the American Heart Association, American Cancer, so on their CEO roundtable. But then this WNBA thing
How did
came
that happen,
along.
by the way?
There was again, all a Deloitte connection. There was a former Deloitte guy who was a Notre Dame football player. I became the CEO. He's a very good friend of mine. His name is Byron Spirelli. He's the head of league operations of the NBA, but he worked for Deloitte. He was a consultant in litigation dispute consulting or something like that. And he left the firm. And I said, Byron, you can't leave me. I go, where are you going? This is in 2015, by the way. I just took over as CEO. He goes, going to become the senior vice president of basketball operations of the NBA. And I go, I have my dad, like Link. I go, yeah, you go take that job and you're going to hire me someday. Totally joking about the hire me someday. 2019 comes, my term's ending at Deloitte in June. Byron calls me and said, I have the perfect job for you, commissioner of the WNBA. And by the way, for 4 months, I told him no. He took to my favorite Italian restaurant in the city, because I had written those 3 things down, and it was definitely something different. Broad women's leadership and passion, I guess my dad and I had played. But until I went over, he said, just come over. 4 months later, he said, come over and meet with Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. 1 hour, that's all I'm asking. And I worked at 30 Rock, 2 blocks away as the NBA, WNBA offices, 2 blocks. I said, all right, I come over. I'm still the CEO of Deloitte. Come over, I think it was April. And I push the elevator button, and I get off the elevator, and it's a parquet basketball floor. And you turn the corner, and there's hoops and pictures of Wilt Chamberlain, who my dad played against, and Kobe Bryant, and Shaq, and Michael Jordan, and there's the logos of all the WNBA teams and NBA teams. And I was mesmerized. And I said, and Adam hates when I tell this story, I said, I don't remember a thing Adam Silver said. I walked out of the building after 1 hour, and I said, something different, check. Broad women's leadership platform, I didn't realize, check. And something I had a passion for, check. So I walked back saying, this is where I'm going to work next.
Yeah. Why was I saying no in the
Why
first
did
place?
I say no
Yes.
for 4 months? I tortured Byron, but that's how I got there. Thank God for Byron. He just kept at me for 4 months, like, this is the job for you. Yeah, I'm glad I took it.